Okay, so welcome to another video. Welcome to another installment of In Pursuit of Perfection with Tamno Pre Hosful. And welcome to our continuation of our series where we are looking at how we can make this year a successful one. And in our last video, we spoke about the risky life and how sometimes it is necessary for us to take some certain kinds of risks to be able to see some certain kinds of results play out in our lives. And we looked at some certain things that can basically put us in circumstances and situations that when we weigh the risk versus reward, we might be able to do some certain things that will bear us the right fruits. But in this video, in understanding the season that we are in, we are still going to be talking about risks, but we're going to be talking about risks in relation to what is relevant in this season. And we know that this is February, this is spring, this is the time where hearts are fluttering, this is the Valentine season, and this is the season where everybody is thinking about relationships and love and all those kinds of things. So we are going to be speaking today about a topic called risky love. We have to talk about this because we must understand that there's risk involved in choosing to love somebody. And this is something that we must accept if we are going to be able to get the best thing out of this thing called love. Because love was designed not to be a selfish thing where we are trying to gratify our own desires. But love has been given to us as an expression for us to be able to extend the goodness in our hearts to the people around us. But the thing about this idea called love is that a lot of the times when we choose to love people, unfortunately for us specifically, the people that we choose to love do not choose to love us back the way we want to be loved. And this choice by them to not love us back the way we want to be loved can be hurtful. And that is the risk hidden behind love. The fact that sometimes you choose to love people, you choose to care for them, you choose to provide for them, and they will not respond to your affections in the same way that you expected them to. I'm sure we might have seen it in some movies and stuff like that. Maybe in some cases we might have even been on one end of this scenario I'm about to make. Or we see it in movies, a mother is trying to talk to a child, usually a teenager, and the teenager will say something like, "Oh mom, I hate you, oh dad, I hate you," and stuff like that, because the parent is trying to do their best to make sure that that child turns out the right way. They love and care for them and are trying to build them up to be something better than themselves. But from the angle of the child, because maybe they've set some sort of limitation over their activities, the child looks at it as the parent is trying to stop them from living their life or enjoying their youth or one thing or the other. So sometimes you choose to love somebody, you care for them, you try to cater for them, but of their the response of their action does not replicate to your desires. They do not see things the way you see things, and by virtue of that, their words and their actions may cause you hurt. And that is the dangerous side of love, because the moment you choose to love somebody, you're opening yourself up to be hurt by those person's actions more deeply than any other person. The truth is, if you have an enemy, someone that you know hates you, somebody that you've been fighting against for a long period of time, if they do something to hurt you, it's expected because they are your enemy. But when it is somebody that you care deeply about and they do something to hurt you, it hurts you much deeper than anything your enemy could ever do to you. And that is the danger hidden behind this thing called love. Because love is giving someone free access into your mind, free access into your space, free access into some certain things about you. At least when love is expressed in these affections, you get. And by virtue of this, we find ourselves always feeling hurt when these people don't reciprocate love the way we expect them to reciprocate love. But there's one thing I feel like might be able to help us to be able to mitigate this thing called hurts in our relationships with people and things like that, because giving is an expression of love. And when we choose to give people stuff, especially let's say you're giving to a charitable organization, you're not expecting anything from that organization. You're not expecting anything from the people on the other side of the world or the people on the other side of the street or anything like that from your charity. You're just doing it out of the goodness and the benevolence of your heart. So you're not really expecting anything from them. And by virtue of that, whether or not they appreciate it or they don't appreciate it, because you've expressed your love to them, you've done your part and you feel happy about the part that you've done. And that is the same way we need to mitigate some of our expectations from when we decide to show people love. The truth is, yes, we know we desire to receive affections in response to the affections that we give. It's just like how the Bible would say that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard, and neither has it come into the heart of man what the Lord has placed or set aside for them that love him. There are special privileges for people that respond positively to the love of God. But God has poured his love out on everybody. And that's the same way you need to be able to pour your love out on everybody without putting that burden of expectation. When you should start, in quote, expecting something is when the people have responded to your love. So when you send a package to somebody 10,000 miles away that you will never meet, you never know, you're not expecting any direct response from them. So there's no expectation, and because of that, the room for you to be hurt is greatly mitigated. But when it is somebody close to you and somebody you decided to draw close to your heart or draw close to your space, you're given the opportunity to draw expectation. But do not allow the beginnings of your affections to be laden with expectations. No, that's the key thing. Do not allow the beginning of your affections to be laden with expectations, because the moment you do that, you open yourself up to a whole world of hurt. You get? But when you choose, right, to be affectionate towards somebody, sometimes you just have to put it in your mind that my affections might not be returned, right? And accept it. But in the accepting does not mean you should put yourself in a situation where you allow yourself to be used, right? But the things that are within your heart and your mind to be able to express, and then leave it at that, and allow the person to decide how, when, or if they are going to respond to your affections, right? And then by virtue of their response to your affections, the things that, in quote, as the Bible puts, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, the things that you have set aside for people that respond to your affections, you can now give them access to that realm of you. Give them deeper access to your space. Give them deeper access to your emotions. Give them deeper access to things that happen around you. But you just have to know that sometimes people are not going to respond to your affection, respond to your love the same way that you are giving the love so freely, right? So don't allow the burden of expectations to be laden on your affections very early. Do what it is that has come to your heart to do. However they choose to respond to it, respond. Let them respond. Don't go home and be angry that, oh, I did this thing for that person, I did that thing for that person, and they did not respond accordingly. That is the weight of the affection that you have burdening on you, and that's where society now says something like there's a thin line between love and hate, because it is this kind of circumstance of expectations that were not returned, and when the expectations were not returned, then it now puts a whole lot of mess in how you deal with people. And another way to ensure that you're not dealing with somebody in the wrong manner is communicate, right? Communicate the extent or the reason why you're being affectionate towards a certain kind of person in a certain kind of manner, in a certain kind of way. Let them know, because there's this thing about, I was listening to something by a minister, and they said they're speaking about unspoken expectation, right? There are sometimes you are affectionate towards somebody, and there is a reason why you're being affectionate towards that person, but the person does not understand. Maybe people are generally just nice to them all the time, and for that reason they are looking at your affections as, okay, this is what people normally do to me, and they don't see it as anything particularly, it doesn't particularly stand out to them. But on your side, this is not something you do for any and everybody, and you're doing it for them, and you're expecting some sort of response because they are receiving the gift that you're giving to them. But because your expectations are unspoken, because there is no reasoning behind your affections, they can do whatever they feel like, and in their hearts they are justified by their actions, but on your part it is hurting you so deeply. So it is necessary for you in some circumstances to communicate the reason why you're being affectionate, the reason why you're giving them access into your space, the reason why you're showing them a certain level of affection, so they know from the beginning how to respond accordingly. And if they have the ability, that's a key word, if they have the ability in that moment to respond in like to what it is that you are given to them. Because there are some people that it's not as though they might not even recognize the fact that you're being affectionate towards them, but they do not have the ability in that moment to respond in a manner that would probably communicate their own feelings in the same way. And by virtue of that, you find yourself in a situation where you're feeling hurt, you're feeling annoyed, you're feeling angered by somebody that does not really have the ability to be able to respond to your affections in a certain kind of way that will probably communicate the depth of their feelings towards you in any way, shape, form, or manner. So this is what we must understand about this thing called love and the risk behind it. The risk is that you will get hurt. There was a part of the Bible where the God was saying it repented him to make man. He was hurt by what he was seeing man doing. And it is that kind of thing that happens a lot with us, that we feel hurt about the fact that we have been involved with some certain people and some certain things, right? And they did not respond in the way we expected them to, right? And by virtue of that, we are hurt. But the good thing about God is that even if God was hurt, he kept on coming back to be able to reinstate the right manner of relationship, to ensure that we are all on the same line. The Bible says he causes the rain to fall on both the good and the unjust. So there is nobody that is hidden from God's love, but there are special treasures that are set aside for people that respond in the right manner to the love of God. So this has been my 10 cents on how we can, get the best out of this thing called love, and how we can be able to mitigate some of the risk of love by tempering some of our expectations and not burdening everybody around us with the response that we think is necessary to these things, but actually opening ourselves up to receive the love as people know how to, and sometimes communicate our desires to the people around us. Okay, so this has been Tamno Prehos for bringing you the word. I hope this word was a blessing to you. And I hope that as you go through the month and through the year, your heart will be open to express the love of God to people and allow them to be able to see that depth, that height, the richness of the love that God has placed in your heart, because he created you in his image, and his image is to love. So you are a being designed to love. So let the world know that you are a being designed to love. God bless you, and catch you in the next one. Bye bye.